a lot of the information has been discussed at committee. And that's what the purpose of the committee. So if we can think about just the questions that we're asking, and if we do need to ask them, we are here for assurance. We're not here for this campaign. I appreciate that. But let's just try and be a little more thoughtful, I think, in that sense, to be not being not thoughtful. Anyway, enough. Even more thoughtful. Thank you. All right then. So coming back then, people culture committee chairs report, and I really do appreciate the talk. This is going to just give a few headlines on my behalf.
So in the spirit of what you've just said. About brevity, so obviously all of the alert items are set out in the report, but maybe there are a couple that the board may be more interested in, and the first is around the immigration rule changes and the assessment of that risk. And our latest understanding is that actually the initial thoughts on the impact of that risk may not be quite as bad as we thought in the longer term, but clearly we need to keep a close eye on that, and the committee will continue to do that. And the second main point is around the workforce race equality standard and the disability equality standard. They were considered in depth by the committee, and we've got those on the agenda today. Clearly, areas for improvement have been highlighted, but hopefully we'll take assurance later that there are plans in place to address those going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. No questions? Can I move on to the EI update, please? Julian, Chief People Officer.
So just to reflect, so the papers, these reports have been through the committee in great detail. I've been to other places as well, including our various staff networks. There's a lot of maths in here, which Brian's been through many times, I'm sure, and hasn't pointed out any glitches apart from one minor error. Page 185, which I will address. But generally, I hope there's some trends in there. As Paul said, there are some items that continue to be areas of concern, particularly around disciplinary and capability for res and des accordingly. But there are also, let's not forget, some very, very good long-term improvements showing in these reports year on year on year. And given that these are cultural as well as statistically trust related, I think that is positive. I think it shows that they're more sustainable, and it shows that our workforce is evolving, particularly the metrics that reflect staff experience. I think it's very good. That's all on those ones. On gender pay gap, again, it's a mathematical thing that is here, and you can see it. I simply say the bit that the report doesn't show is our comparison to other trusts. And our comparison to the trusts, certainly for gender pay gap, and the others also, we are now at a position, having all these years of improvement, we're one of the best in the top 5 last time I looked in the entire country on gender pay gap for our type of trust, and certainly in the top quartile right across all trusts. And in our own little locality, so by way of example, the RUH and Swindon, Salisbury, the Bristol trusts, they're running at around about 18-19% gender pay gap. And it's worthwhile, of course, knowing that the mean and the median are different and they reflect things, but they're both heading in useful direction. So I pause there. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Julian. Any questions? I think both of these papers are to be approved.
They've been published, approved for publication. That's right. We've already submitted our data to NHS England. This is to publish these papers. I'll make the correction that Brian pointed out, which is a minor one of the tables.
Right, okay, so it is approval for publication. Yeah. And subject to the minor amendment that you're going to make from the documents, yeah? For both good news in relation to the gender pay gap and where we stand in relation to certainly our system partners, but obviously there's still more work to do.
Yep. Thank you.
And John, just triangulating across, also want to congratulate the organisation on receiving the Tide Award. I know it's a new version of the awards that we had last year, but it's really important that we're continuing to maintain our position as being an inclusive employer.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, then can I move on? If there are no other questions, we've approved for these documents, both documents to be published. Going to then move on to the Digital Estates Committee. First of all, Chair's report, but I think
I'll be
we'll be
representing.
able to represent, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then, so I'm going to hand over to you.
Okay, so just to pick out just a couple of headlines, because I think they're just important. First is the Data Security and Protection Toolkit. This is for assurance purposes. So this is a national scheme where we have to effectively comply with a very comprehensive cyber security assessment. I'm pleased to report that we have standards met the national standards this year, and we've received a certificate to be able to confirm that. And I'd like to put on record my thanks to the Information Governance team led by Richard Burge, and also the head of IT infrastructure, Chris Highcott, for all of the efforts. It is a very substantial cyber security assessment. Second, I'd like to say is also about the digital maturity assessment. Last year, we scored 1.9. This year, we scored 2.4 out of 5. So there was a significant improvement. From a national average perspective, 2.4 is the national average. Where we were in the southwest region, we're now joint top, which is a really good result for us as an organisation. Finally, just to pick up on a couple of things around the estates, there has been, and the Digital Estates Committee is monitoring a deterioration in performance against the statutory and regulatory preventative maintenance tasks we have to do. There is an action plan in place, and we will be reporting a positive improvement to the next committee in 2 weeks' time. And then finally, just to note the ERIC return. So this is the Estate Records Information Collection, which again is a national scheme. We have to report into NHS England. We submitted that. Backlog maintenance wise, £20 million is where we currently are across our estate. We are mitigated risks. Mitigated risks are mitigated, and it is brought down into a low, medium, high, and critical infrastructure. The trust has done very well at reducing its critical infrastructure and high risk over the last few years. A lot of the backlog maintenance is in what we class as the low and medium, which is painting and decorating and so forth. So risk is being managed appropriately. I'll stop there, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Martin? Okay, we've got Paul and then.
Just a comment really, and we will pick this up in the committee, but it's great that we've got the certification for the data security toolkit. But we all know what's going on with other large organisations who probably felt that they were secure as well. So I think it means that we've got to apply even more focus and diligence against our risks when it comes to data security, because you never know, the boys in the bedroom, as they're called, may turn on to us one day just for fun, because that's what they're doing it for. They're not doing it for money, they're doing it for fun.
Thank you, Paul. I think that's the also in relation to our data security that we do need to always continue to be cognizant of, not only ourselves but our staff. Simon.
Yeah, thank you. Just concerned that whenever you see 0% compliance, so this is on page 233, compliance for asbestos-free inspections. Whose responsibility is that?
It is a trust responsibility.
No, but to do it, to do the inspections, is it Ryden or is it?
It is within the estates team itself.
Right.
It is a position that we are looking at the moment. We are commissioning Ryden to effectively take on the responsibility, the full responsibility of all the statutory and regulatory PPMs, including asbestos in particular. It's not that the asbestos surveys haven't been done. The asbestos surveys are in place. It's just they are required to be annually reviewed. Yeah. Mitigations are in place at the moment, because it's not until you damage asbestos that you drill into it, or you do a piece of improvement work that asbestos then becomes a risk. We do have a process in place that says, well, any contractors on site, they must check the asbestos register in the first instance and take the appropriate precautions. So it's not that we have asbestos exposed, it's only when building works in particular are taking place that we have a real responsibility to do that.
Just check, did you say that the ERIC return has been submitted?
It has been submitted, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments from Martin in relation to the Chair's report? No? And thank you for stepping in relation to Emma and to present this to the board. Thank you. Next one is the audit risk report.
Thank you, Chair. Just to briefly highlight, because the NHS Counter Fraud Agency has asked me to do so, the failure to prevent fraud under the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act, ECTA, as it's affectionately known, which now came into place on the 1st of September. Offence of committing fraud by an individual in a large organisation with the intention of benefiting the organisation or its clients is now a criminal offence. I've got a whole list of areas where this base fraud could be defined as. It could be, for example, fraud by abuse of your position, obtaining services dishonestly, such as using unlicensed software to save costs. It could be false statements by company directors, e.g. about financial stability, but we have a presentation coming from our local counter-fraud experts to the audit committee in October, just to make sure the board is aware of those. Happy to circulate the presentation I've just had from our counter-fraud expert if anyone is interested. That's all I wanted to highlight, Chair.
Thank you, Brian. Can I actually ask that is an action that presentation is circulating to all board members, given the
Yeah, I can do that. I'll do that if I may after it's been through audit
Yes.
committee. It's coming to audit on the 17th of October.
Thank you. Thank you. No other questions either?
Brian, in your report, under alert, you talk about potential lack of executive board oversight on non-performance and outstanding internal audit actions. I'm keen to understand, so what is the follow-up and action in response to that alert?
Yeah, happy to pick that up. That is a specific one that is picked up and is partly a function of timing. So when the internal auditors come to the audit committee, the report may be out of date by the week when the papers come up. But specifically, that was because there were a number of risks and actions that had been extended in some cases 4 or 5 times and still hadn't been bottomed. And there was one action on there that had been chased, but no reply received. So this was just a gentle reminder to the executive board that in exercising oversight, it would helpful to just get these closed off.
So do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I just confirmed that this was discussed yesterday in our exec board.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Can I move on to the Finance Planning and Performance Committee Chair's report?
Verbal. I have the actual paper this afternoon in part 2, and we can embellish then if we need to. So just headlines. Month 4, we saw a break-even position for the trust, and we are forecasting a break-even position for the end of the year. The month 4 efficiency program is broadly in line with trajectory, with a mix of recurrent and non-recurrent savings that we expected. We are currently assuming full year efficiencies will be delivered, although the out of area position is challenging us. We did some numbers to the tune of about 2 to 4 million, depending on whether that trajectory continues or not. We received assurance that that can be mitigated through non-recurrent reserves this year, but of course there's problems into 26, 27. We then talked under the operational piece about the out of area position. We won't go into that now, but Matthew took it through some of the operational detail that they're trying to work through at the moment to improve that particular position. And then we looked at the business and service development report from Emma. We've already heard from Dominic about the planning guidance and the 3-year operational plan. There was one other item I'll just pick out for now. There's some capital funding available for a crisis assessment centre. It was initially going to be in BSW. BSW weren't able to use the funding. We're now seeking to utilise that funding within BNSSG at Callington Road. And as at that point in time, the committee heard that we do require £2 million of revenue funding to be able to operationalise that crisis health centre. And I don't know if there's an update on that or not, but that was, we were seeking the funding subject to revenue funding being granted by the ICB. I think that's enough for now.
Yeah, just on that. So we, and this was discussed within exec team sort of yesterday. So we will be continuing with the work of developing the crisis assessment sort of centre on the Callington Road site. It's very dependent on the outcome of that retendering for the completion of the original Callington redevelopment sort of site. I think that obviously £2 million worth of additional sort of funding needing to run that needs to be reviewed into the detail. Clearly, the financial position of our sort of systems which we operate within, it clearly is sort of challenged, and we will need to understand the aspects around growth funding and how and what would be the priorities associated with that. What was clear to the service is that we will need to re-engineer existing service provision and transform that to be able to then support the utilisation of the crisis assessment centre. So it may be, and I stress may be, that actually we build out and complete the crisis assessment centre, but it won't be fully operational from day one.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Before thanks again. Okay, Paul, thank you for your report. Can we now move on to finance for month 4?
So thank you, Chair. So obviously, Chair of the Finance Committee has really stolen most of my thunder, so which just reflects obviously how well that is working. The only two things which I just really wanted to reiterate to the board. So that cash continues to remain in a strong position for the organisation, and again, as you could always remember, cash doesn't lie. So the continuation and the delivery around the better practice payment code, the compliance with the purchase order process still allows the organisation to be fully sort of operational on that. And again, that is a good checks and balance. The second area is around capital expenditure. Clearly, obviously, the crisis assessment centre and obviously building that out utilises around about £1 million. Clearly, we've got some big programmes which are finishing. So the Kingfisher sort of unit will hopefully be sort of completed by the end of this financial year. Obviously, Callington Road original redevelopment will be progressing significantly, hopefully. But also the utilisation of our other sort of monies which we have received. I think what we have to be really clear about, and again, it's the constraints of the financial framework which we sort of operate within. If we don't use it, we lose it. But there is a double jeopardy now. If you don't lose it, you lose it in this financial year, but then it will also be taken again off you next year. Just assuming that you don't need it and won't use it. So really the focus, and I think it comes down to our ability to be able to plan and really work through how we can deliver some of these programs of work. But again, it comes back to that. Yes, we may be operating within a 3-year planning sort of cycle, but we will still be required from a financial framework to absolutely deliver 1 year in splendid sort of isolation. And that's for revenue and also for capital. So again, it's, absolutely welcome the longer term planning sort of process, but the financial framework will, and because of the way government works, will still be 1 year. And that in itself can be quite constraining.
Yeah. Thank you. Any questions? Quite sobering.
3 years, but 1 year.
Finance, we might have a vision and a strategy to deliver for 3 years, but the expectation is that you do deliver each year in splendid isolation.
That makes the point, if I'm making links to the question about the bath earlier on, actually. I think the question was, from what I recall, we'll be looking at the bath, we can stay in relation to looking at the bath over 3 years, but given that we've still got the annual 1 year reviews in relation to finance, bath will also, should in my mind.
The board assurance framework is around the delivery of your strategy, and we know, I can't remember what the actual period of each of our strategies is, 3 or 5 years. So the board assurance framework, I think, continues to do that. The corporate risk register, which very much is about your delivery against your operational plan, is focused very much in year. That is where you would be then reporting that and reflecting any risks around the delivery of that operational plan.
Thank you. That's really nice. That's really me. Okay. No questions. No. All right, thank you, because people have sort of like really honesty and said, thank you very much for that. I hope I haven't now stymied you all today. All right, just moving on then, we've got papers for information overleaf, not overleaf, only from my agenda page, papers for information. We've got today's report to the board first of all, and you can see there, it is what it says on the tin in relation to the visits that each of the NEDs have done or work that they've undertaken over the past 2 months. The ERIC return, I don't think there's anything you'd like to say in relation anything further than what you said before, Martin.
No, I've covered that as part of the previous update, Chair.
Excellent, thank you. Use of fourth annual report. So is there anything you want to say? Just
Just information.
similar to IPC, similar to the R&D annual reports there. Anything you'd like to add to what we see?
No, just commend to the board the work that they've done and the improvements they've made based on the feedback from last time.
Yes, thank you. And they are a really exceptional team that actually generate a lot of money and do fantastic work. So I think we would all reiterate what you're saying to commend them. The patient care experience annual report, anything, Sarah, you want to add? No. Likewise, the quality, the framework of quality assurance for the responsible officer, Sarah.
This has been through all the relevant committees, but the board does need to endorse this report so it can be part of Info NHS England.
Fine, thank you. Now, I take it, first of all, I'm just checking that people have read the report. Thank you, Brian. It's led the way. Is everybody else happy to endorse the report for it to be submitted?
Yes.
Recommended.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Learning from death, Q4.
Yeah, that's the Q4 report. We are in our normal reporting phases and structures. I don't have anything specific to highlight from this particular report.
So thank you. Digital Estates Committee annual report, Martin. Anything you want to?
Nothing specific, Chair.
Excellent, thank you. Right then. Any other business? Any other questions? I'm looking around the room. I'm also looking on the screen. Gosh, you like church mice now. Okay. In that case, can I take this opportunity then to formally close part 1 of the board meetings that we're having today? And I thank you all for your contributions. Can you equally thank your staff, because a lot of work goes into presenting, writing these reports for presentation to ensure that we get assurances. So I'd like to do that, ask you to thank your staff, close the report, thank the members of the public and staff who are observing us today. Thank you for your contributions. Remind you again, if there's any questions that you want to ask of the board, can you go onto the website, and there is that website address, www.askchair.
AWP.
Oh, thank you.
Ask the chair at nhs.net. It's in the Teams chat and it's also on our website.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.